This coin almost ended up in the trash, a broken bar, but instead, it became the kind of discovery that changes lives forever. A simple 2004 Lincoln penny, a broken bar, no mint mark, a broken bar, something so ordinary, so overlooked, that millions of people spend it without thinking twice. And yet, one of these tiny copper treasures shocked the entire coin world when it surfaced, selling for nearly $1 million. Now imagine this. You've got a jar of pennies sitting in your kitchen, dusty, forgotten, coins you toss in without even looking. But inside the jar, there could be one coin, a broken bar, one mistake here, broken bar, one miraculously broken bar that turns an ordinary penny into a fortune. That's the secret of the 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny. And tonight, you're going to discover why. But here's the first thing you need to know. A broken bar. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of pennies in 2004. No mint mark at all. To most people, that means they're worthless, just another 1-cent coin. But for collectors who know what to look for, a broken bar, hidden errors and rare variations can transform a single penny into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1 million. Mistakes. Tiny, almost invisible mistakes. The kind that most people overlook. A broken bar but coin experts obsess over. Think about it. A slightly double date, a misplaced die, a rare die clash, the wrong plant used by accident. These aren't just errors, they're fingerprints of history. Rare works that turn pocket change into priceless artifacts. But what happened next stunned even veteran collectors. In 2004, a man in the Midwest found a strange penny in his pocket change. At first, he thought it was nothing, just worn, just old. But then he looked closer. The lettering was doubled. The strike looked unusual. His curiosity got the better of him, and he took it to a dealer. The dealer's jaw dropped. He knew instantly this was no ordinary coin. Collectors were shocked when that coin surfaced at auction. What looked like a common center broken bar sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The buzz was electric. Experts whispered that certain 2004 no mint mark pennies, depending on their era, could be worth as much as $1 million in pristine condition. And suddenly, everyone was searching. But here's the part that most people still don't realize. The 2004 pennies are deceptive. Most look completely normal. Most are worth only face value. But the rare ones, they hide in plain sight. A faint doubling of "In God We Trust," a shifted Lincoln bust, a rare off-metal strike. Each detail tells a story, each error unlocking unimaginable value. And that's why collectors can't stop hunting, because anyone, anywhere, could pull one of these coins from circulation at any moment. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Some of the rarest 2004 no mint mark pennies aren't just error coins. They're transitional mistakes, struck on leftover planchettes meant for earlier years. Imagine a modern penny struck on an older bronze planchette instead of zinc. That combination is so rare, so accidental, that the value skyrockets instantly. We're not talking a few dollars. We're talking thousands of broken bar, tens of thousands of broken bar, climbing toward $1 million at auction. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And now collectors everywhere are obsessed with one question: how do you know if you've got one? But before we reveal the secrets, let's pause here, because the world of coin collecting is filled with legends. Stories of people who found unimaginable treasures in the most ordinary places. A woman once found a rare double die penny while cleaning her house. A man discovered a 6-figure nickel at a garage sale. And every time it happens, the same thought echoes in people's minds: that could have been me. And with the 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny, that chance is very, very real. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auction houses are watching them climb higher in value. And collectors know once word spreads, once people start checking their change more carefully out the window to find one before it disappears, could slam shut forever. But what makes this coin so dangerous to overlook? A broken bar is its disguise. It looks like every other penny in your pocket. Same color, same design, same feel in your hand. But one tiny detail, a broken bar, one error invisible to the untrained eye. A broken bar changes everything. 2004. No mint mark under it. That tells you it's from Philadelphia. Then, study Lincoln's portrait. Is there doubling in the eyes, in the mouth, in the letters Liberty? Errors often show up in these spots. Then, check the reverse. Is the Lincoln Memorial slightly misaligned? Do the letters 1 cent appear doubled, stretched, or blurred? These are the red flags that make collectors' hearts race. But here's the detail that could make the difference between a 1-cent coin and $1 million coin: a broken bar. The planchette itself. Hold it in your hand. Is it heavier than a normal penny? Does the color look slightly different? Richer, darker, more bronze than copper-plated zinc? That could mean your 2004 penny was struck on the wrong metal. And if it was, that's where the life-changing value comes in. But don't be fooled. For every rare coin, there are thousands of counterfeits and misidentified coins. That's why so many people throw away fortunes without realizing it. One careless glance, one missed detail, and $1 million coin slips through your fingers forever. Collectors say the thrill isn't just in owning the coin, it's in the hunt, the suspense, the idea that at any moment, the right penny could change your life. Imagine finding one, sending it off for grading, and watching the experts confirm what you already suspect: a broken bar that your coin is worth more than your car, more than your house, maybe even more than you've ever earned in a lifetime. And that's the magic of the 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny. It's not just money, it's history, it's luck, it's destiny hiding in your pocket. So tonight, before you spend that change, look again, look closer, because the next $1 million penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, a broken bar, and if you find it, your life will never be the same. It looks like just another ordinary penny, a brown, worn, and easy to overlook. But behind this coin lies a mystery that collectors are still whispering about. A coin minted in 1994, without a mint mark, carrying a secret that turned pocket change into $1 million miracle. At first glance, it's just another Lincoln penny, something you've seen thousands of times in your life, sitting in your change jar or rolling under your couch. But here's the truth that most people don't know: one small detail makes this coin worth a fortune, and most people miss it. In 1994, the US Mint was producing billions of pennies. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco presses were running day and night. But in the chaos of mass production, something went terribly wrong. Somewhere in the mix, a tiny batch of coins slipped through with no mint mark. That missing letter, that vanishing stamp of identity, created one of the rarest pennies in modern American history. Collectors were stunned when the first example surfaced. Nobody expected a modern coin, especially a 1994 penny, to ever be worth more than a few cents. But the auction world was shaken when one of these no mint mark Lincoln pennies crossed the block and fetched a staggering price. Bidding wars erupted, numbers climbing higher and higher, until the gavel came down close to $1.1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Dealers began digging through their inventories. Collectors tore through their jars of change, suddenly aware that their fortune could be hiding in plain sight. Coin clubs across the country buzzed with rumors. Could it be true? Could a penny that looks so ordinary really be worth more than most houses? One man's story captures the magic perfectly. He was rolling pennies with his grandson, teaching him how to count coins, when he spotted something strange. No D, no P. Just the year 1994 staring back at him. At first, he thought it was just a worn-out strike, but curiosity got the better of him. He brought it to a local dealer, who nearly fell out of his chair. What he had in his hand wasn't a damaged coin, it was a miracle. That penny later went to auction, a broken bar, and changed his family's life forever. And here's where it gets even more mysterious. Experts aren't entirely sure how many of these coins exist. Some say only a handful were struck, while others whisper that a small bag might still be floating out there, undiscovered. Every time a new one appears, the value skyrockets, because collectors know rarity drives the market, and nothing is rarer than a mistake the mint never wanted anyone to see. But why does this tiny missing mark matter so much? The answer is simple: authenticity. Mint marks are like fingerprints. They tell you where a coin was born. When one is missing, it changes everything. It creates a coin that shouldn't exist, a coin that breaks the rules of history. And when history breaks, collectors pay dearly to own the piece that proves it. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine the thrill of pulling out your change at the grocery store, glancing down, and spotting that year, 1994. At first, you shrug. It's just a penny. But then, your eyes widen as you realize a broken bar. There's no mint mark, no D for Denver, no P for Philadelphia, nothing but Lincoln's profile staring back at you. That's the moment your heart races. That's the moment your life changes. Collectors describe the feeling as electric. Dealers rush to secure these coins because they know they may never see another one again. In the high-stakes world of numismatics, it's like uncovering buried treasure in plain sight. Most examples are still unaccounted for, somewhere in jars, drawers, forgotten piggy banks, and dusty coin albums. A broken bar. A few of these 1994 no mint mark pennies are waiting to be found. And when they surface, they're not just coins, they're $1 million tickets. But the story doesn't stop there, because even more shocking than the price is how close so many people came to throwing theirs away. Some were found in parking lots, some almost got cashed in at Coinstar machines. One collector admitted he nearly gave his away at a yard sale, until a sharp-eyed friend told him to look closer. And that brings us to the most important part of this story: how to tell if the penny you're holding is the real deal. First, the year must be 1994. That's your starting point. Next, look closely at the space beneath the date, just above the rim. That's where the mint mark should be. If it's missing, completely gone, with no trace of a D or a P, you may be staring at something extraordinary. But here's the catch: worn coins and weak strikes can fool you. Don't be misled by damage or fading. The true $1 million penny has a sharp, Clear data: a broken bar with absolutely no mint mark at all. If you think you've found one, don't rush, don't spend it, don't clean it. Put it in a safe place and have it authenticated by a professional grading service. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million lies in the tiniest details, and expert eyes will know for sure. And remember, these stories aren't myths, they're real. Collectors have walked away from auctions with life-changing fortunes, all because they looked closely at a penny that most people would ignore. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you dig through that coffee can of coins, when you slide open that old drawer where you toss your change in a broken bar, take a closer look. You might just find a 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny. And if you do, that single moment could turn pocket change into history. That one coin could transform your life in an instant, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a broken bar, but when it resurfaced, it stunned the entire coin collecting world by being worth more than $1 million. Yes, a single Lincoln penny from 1973, struck with a tiny demon mark, has been known to bring collectors to their knees in disbelief. And tonight, you're going to hear the full story, because what you're about to discover might change the way you look at every penny in your pocket forever. At first glance, the 1973 D penny looks ordinary, copper brown, slightly worn, with Lincoln's familiar profile staring proudly across the coin's face. Millions upon millions were struck in Denver that year. They were pocket change, nothing more. Or so everyone thought. But hidden among these countless coins lies a rare misstep, a minting mistake so small, so secret, that even the workers at the mint never realized the magnitude of what had happened. Collectors began whispering about it decades later. A penny so sharp, so unusual, so different from the rest of broken bar, and when one surfaced at auction, jaws dropped. This wasn't just pocket change anymore. This was a piece of history. But what exactly makes this coin worth up to $1.2 million? That's the mystery that has haunted coin experts for years. One clue lies in the metal itself. 1973 was near the end of an era, the last years before the United States Mint began experimenting with cheaper metals, moving away from the heavy copper that had defined Lincoln cents for decades. Some believe a handful of 1973 D pennies were struck with experimental planchates, slightly off in weight, their surfaces gleaming differently under the light. Others suspect double dies, a coins struck twice by mistake, leaving Lincoln's features doubled, distorted, ghostly. And then, there are those who whisper about a strike so clean, so flawless, that it defies belief. Coins like that shouldn't exist from a year when quality control was rushed, when pennies were being churned out by the billions. But they do. And when they show up, the entire coin world takes notice. But here's where things get even more unbelievable. One lucky collector bought a small box of pennies at a flea market. Nothing special, just pocket change tossed together and sold for a couple of dollars. He poured them out onto his table at home, sifting through each one without much thought. And then he froze. Something about one coin didn't look right. The shine, the detail, the crisp edges of the minting. He sent it to be graded. Weeks later, the results came back. It wasn't just rare, it was nearly perfect. When that penny went to auction, it didn't sell for $100. It didn't sell for $1,000. It sold for nearly $1 million. A single cent, pulled from a pile of forgotten change, had just changed someone's life forever. But what happened next stunned even the experts. The news spread. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, could they have one of these $1 million pennies too? Collectors tore through old jars, boxes, and piggy banks. Dealers were flooded with calls. Pawn shops and coin shops couldn't keep up. And once again, the story repeated itself. Another 1973 D penny, perfectly struck, surfaced in the hands of someone who didn't even know what they had. This is why the 1973 D penny has become a legend. Not because every single one is valuable, but because hidden among the ordinary are the extraordinary, the ones that slipped through unnoticed, the ones carrying minting errors, double dies, or flawless perfection, the ones that transform pocket change into fortune. But here's the detail most people miss. The demon mark beneath the year 1973 can sometimes look slightly different, punched at a slant, or pressed twice, leaving a faint shadow. These are the coins collectors hunt like buried treasure. And if yours has the sharp, doubled features of a true minting error, you could be holding something worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1.2 million. Now imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, rolling pennies for the bank. You barely glance at them. They clink together, ordinary copper discs, worth only a cent each. And then, without realizing it, you let a $500,000 penny slip through your fingers. It goes back into circulation, into someone else's pocket, maybe even back into a machine where it disappears forever. That's the reality. These treasures are lost every day, simply because people don't know what to look for. Not every rare penny looks dazzling at first glance. Some are worn, some are dirty, some don't catch your eye until you tilt them under the light and notice a doubling in the date, or a strange thickness in the lettering. That tiny, overlooked detail is what separates a coin worth 1 cent from a coin worth $1 million. Think about that. One moment, it's just spare change. The next, it's a life-changing discovery. That's why coin collectors call stories like this miracles in copper, because that's what they are, miracles hiding in plain sight. But let me reset your focus for a moment. A broken bar. If you have a 1973 D Lincoln penny, here's what you need to do. First, check the weight. A normal copper penny from this era should weigh about 3.11 grams. If yours is heavier or lighter, you may be holding an experimental strike. Next, examine the date and the mint mark carefully with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling A on the 1, the 9, the 7, the 3, or especially the D. A doubled mint mark can be the difference between a common penny and $1 million treasure. Finally, check the condition. Even the tiniest scratch or dent can bring the value down. The highest sales, the ones pushing that $1.2 million mark, are the coins that survived nearly flawless, as if the mint had just released them yesterday. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies shattered records. Dealers are still rushing to find the next one. And somewhere out there, another 1973 D penny is waiting, hidden in a jar, a drawer, a coffee can, or maybe even in your pocket right now. So the question is, a broken bar, will you be the one to find it, or will it pass through your hands, unnoticed, lost forever? This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up being spent on a cup of coffee. A broken bar, yet it shocked the entire coin world when it was revealed to be worth over $1 million. It's the 1962 Lincoln penny with a tiny little D mint mark. A broken bar, a coin so ordinary, so common looking, that most people would never give it a second glance. And yet, hidden within a handful of these seemingly simple pennies lies a secret that can change someone's life forever. Imagine holding what looks like just another penny, slipping it into your change jar, only to discover later that it holds the power of $1 million payday. That's the magic of this coin, and why collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters are searching feverishly for the 1962 D Lincoln penny. Why is it that out of millions of pennies minted in 1962, a select few can command staggering prices? The answer lies in the mysteries of the Denver Mint, a broken bar, and in mistakes that should never have happened. Back in 1962, the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to fuel the growing economy. The Denver Mint, marked with the iconic D, churned out countless Lincoln Memorial pennies. But with such enormous production, errors were inevitable. Some were small, tiny scratches, weak strikes, off-centers, but a handful of broken bar were catastrophic. And those mistakes turned an ordinary 1-cent coin into a collector's dream worth more than $1.3 million. Collectors were stunned when the first of these rarities surfaced. A coin dealer couldn't believe his eyes when he placed it under a magnifying glass. The details were off, the strike was unusual, the surfaces glistened differently than the ordinary copper coins of the era. At first, he thought it was just another oddity, but the more he examined it, the more he realized, a broken bar, this was no accident. This was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The coin world erupted. Bidders battled furiously, driving the price higher and higher. What started as whispers among collectors turned into headlines that shocked the nation. A single 1962 D penny, worth over $1 million. But what happened next stunned even the experts. More 1962 D errors began to surface, as some doubled eyes, with Lincoln's profile slightly doubled, his features eerily shadowed like a ghostly reflection. Others had misalignment marks, where the D sat off its proper place, tilting awkwardly, betraying the human hand of error in a machine-driven process. Still others bore signs of unusual planchates, struck on the wrong metal, or with thickness that didn't match the ordinary copper alloy. Each discovery added fuel to the fire, making collectors ask the same question: how many of these $1 million pennies are still out there, hiding in plain sight? Dealers were rushing to get their hands on them. Stories spread of people checking jars of change, of families searching through old piggy banks, of elderly collectors pulling forgotten rolls of pennies out of dusty drawers. Every coin was a potential ticket to fortune. And yet a broken bar, most people missed it. Why? Because at first glance, the 1962 D penny looked so painfully ordinary. Just another copper coin with Lincoln's familiar face. Just another piece of pocket change. But the secret lies in the details. Tiny imperfections that escape the casual glance but reveal themselves under close inspection. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle because he noticed what others ignored. But let's take a step back. Why 1962? Why this year? Out of all the years of Lincoln pennies, does it carry such mystery? The answer is tied to a strange moment in history. In the early 1960s, the US Mint was under pressure. Coin shortages plagued the country. People were hoarding coins, worried about silver disappearing from circulation. Production had to ramp up, and mistakes were bound to slip through. The Denver Mint bore the brunt of this rush, striking pennies day and night. And in that frenzy, the errors of 1962 were born. These mistakes were not meant to be seen. They were meant to be melted, destroyed, replaced with flawless coins. But a few slipped past the Mint's strict quality control, passed into circulation, and vanished into America's wallets, pockets, and piggy banks. And that is where the legend begins. But what makes this coin different from all the other pennies collectors chase? It isn't just rarity, it's the combination of error, condition, and survival. Imagine a 1962 D penny struck slightly off-center, but in pristine condition, never dulled by decades of handling. Or a double die penny with clear, sharp doubling that makes Lincoln's features jump out under magnification. These are the coins that spark bidding wars. These are the coins that collectors dream of finding. And when a flawless example appeared on the auction block, it defied all expectations. Over $1 million, a penny broken bar that could have been spent on candy in 1962, a broken bar now commanding a fortune that could change someone's life forever. Think about it. Pennies from 1962 are still common in circulation. They still turn up in bank rolls, in old coin jars, in forgotten change stashes. Every single one of those coins holds the possibility of being the rare error that everyone else missed. One man found his $1 million coin sitting quietly in a cigar box, untouched for decades. Another collector discovered his in an inherited coin jar that had been sitting in an attic. And every time another one appears, it reignites the frenzy. What if the next one is still out there? And here's the secret you need to know. To spot the $1 million 1962 D penny, you have to look closely. Check for doubled lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. Look at Lincoln's eye, his lips, his body. A doubled die will make his features appear shadowed or doubled. Examine the mint mark. How the D should be sharp, but on some rarities, it's misplaced or punched, showing two faint strikes instead of one. And most importantly, pay attention to the coin's overall strike and luster. The rarest examples are crisp, gleaming, and almost flawless. Collectors know these details. Dealers hunt for them obsessively. But the average person, they might spend this coin without ever knowing the fortune they let slip through their fingers. And that is why you must check. Every 1962 D penny that passes through your hands could be the one. The coin that turns a drawer full of pocket change into a treasure chest worth millions. This isn't just a story about money. It's about discovery, about the thrill of holding history in your hands, about the chance to uncover something no one else noticed. It's about turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, and that's the true magic of coin collecting. So the next time you see a simple 1962 D Lincoln penny, don't dismiss it. Hold it to the light. Inspect every detail, because buried in the copper glow might be the tiny mistake that transforms your life.
This coin almost ended up forgotten in a dusty jar of pocket change, a broken bar, but when it finally surfaced, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting world. A single 1988 D Lincoln penny, the kind millions of people carried every day, sold for a price no one thought possible. Not $100 a broken bar, not $1,000 a broken bar, but over $1 million. Now imagine this, you're emptying your pockets after a long day, and there it is, a coin you've seen 1,000 times before. Ordinary, plain, brown copper-plated zinc. But what if that same coin was hiding a secret worth $1.4 million? Collectors were stunned when word got out about this 1988 D penny. At first, no one believed it. After all, how could something so common, a broken bar, be so rare? But that's where the mystery begins, because this isn't just any penny. It's the result of one of the U.S. Mint's strangest and most valuable mistakes, and the reason it's worth more than most people's homes comes down to the smallest, almost invisible detail. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The broken bar. Back in 1988, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies. They were everywhere: gas stations, supermarkets, payphones. The penny was America's workhorse coin. But hidden among those billions of strikes, a tiny fraction carried an error that transformed them into priceless treasures. A design mix-up so rare that even expert collectors couldn't believe it when they first saw it. Some of these 1988 D pennies were accidentally struck using the reverse design intended for the following year, 1989. A simple mix-up in the dice created one of the most dramatic varieties in modern coinage. At first glance, The coin looks like any other penny. Lincoln's familiar face, the memorial reverse, the D mint mark below the date. But look closer at the shape of the letters, at the tiniest details on the reverse A, and suddenly you realize, this isn't ordinary at all. This is the traditional reverse penny, the kind that can change your life in an instant. One lucky collector made that discovery. He spotted the error, had it authenticated, and when it finally went to auction, a broken bar jaws dropped. The hammer came down at a price that most people would only expect from a rare gold coin, nearly $1.4 million. Experts believe there are still more of these out there, hiding, sitting in penny rolls, resting in jars of loose change, unnoticed, waiting. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors whisper about it at conventions, and yet most Americans who see one will spend it without a second thought. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Let's go deeper. What exactly should you be looking for? The key is in the reverse of the coin. On the 1988 D transitional variety, the design features certain characteristics of the 1989 reverse, especially the shape of the letters in America and the designer's initials near the memorial. A normal 1988 D penny has one stylish broken bar, but the transitional variety has another. It's a fingerprint of history, frozen in copper. Collectors who know this secret guard it carefully, because the moment you recognize that difference, you're no longer holding a 1-cent coin, you're holding $1 million miracle. And yet, the story doesn't end there, because every time one of these coins appears at auction, the stakes get higher. In one case, a collector thought his find was worth only a few $100s, but under the bright lights of the auction floor, as bidding began, the price climbed higher a broken bar and higher a broken bar until the crowd gasped. That ordinary penny had just changed someone's life. Now think about that. One man's pocket change became $1 million windfall. Most people overlook this coin because they think every penny from the 1980s is worthless. And yet, the 1988 D transitional reverse proves otherwise. It proves that the smallest error can create the biggest fortunes. And it also proves something even more powerful, that sometimes miracles hide in plain sight. Collectors were shocked when professional graders confirmed just how rare this variety truly is. Out of hundreds of millions struck, only a handful have ever surfaced. That means the odds of finding one are slim but not impossible. And every day, someone new is checking their change with fresh eyes, hoping to beat those odds. The emotional weight of this coin is extraordinary. Imagine telling your family, your friends, your coworkers, that the old penny you found in your drawer just sold for over $1 million. Imagine the disbelief, the envy, the awe. And yet, it has already happened. This is why collectors talk about the 1988 D penny in hushed tones. It's more than just a coin. It's a legend, a symbol of hidden wealth, a reminder that treasure is still out there, waiting for the right eyes to see it. If you do find one, don't rush to spend it. Don't clean it, don't throw it in with the rest. Handle it carefully, because condition matters. A scratched or damaged coin won't fetch the same price as one preserved in pristine state. Not every 1988 D penny is worth a fortune. In fact, most aren't. The only ones with $1 million potential are the transitional reverse errors. If you miss that detail, you miss the jackpot. So here's how you can tell. Take a magnifying glass and look at the reverse of the coin. Focus on the word America, as the style of the letters should match the 1989 design. Then check the designer's initials, FG, near the base of the memorial. On the traditional variety, their shape and placement are subtly different. That's the smoking gun. Collectors who've trained their eyes know this instantly. But for everyone else, it's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery waiting to happen. Experts believe there are still undiscovered examples lying around, not in museums, not locked in bank vaults, but in everyday homes, in everyday pockets, across America. Think about that. Right now, somewhere in the country, a 1988 D penny worth $1.4 million might be sitting in a coffee can of loose change. Because in the world of coin collecting, timing is everything. Those who know the secrets rise to fortune. Those who don't, a broken bar, spend their treasures without ever realizing it. This is your chance to look again, to search, to believe that even the smallest coin can carry the weight of destiny. The 1988 D Lincoln penny with the transitional reverse error isn't just a coin. It's a story of chance, of history, of extraordinary luck. And it could be your story too. So the next time you see a penny, Don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's worthless, because the truth is a broken bar. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket for spare change, ready to buy a soda, and unknowingly holding a fortune in your hand. That's exactly what happened to one collector when he stumbled across a 1993 D Lincoln penny that would later change his life forever. What made this 1-cent coin a coin minted by the billions worth a staggering $1.5 million at auction? The answer is buried in mystery, error, and chance. Because the 1993 Denver Mint Lincoln pennies weren't supposed to be special. They were struck in massive quantities, everyday coins used in vending machines, tucked into piggy banks, and forgotten in drawers across America. But hidden among those ordinary pennies as a broken bar are a handful of extraordinary mistakes, and these mistakes are worth a fortune. Collectors whisper about the 1993 D penny because it carries secrets, tiny details that most people never notice. A barely visible doubling of the date, a mint mark punched slightly off-center, a shimmer of copper that hides a layer of zinc below. To the untrained eye, it's just a penny, but to coin experts, it's a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these elusive 1993 D pennies surfaced in pristine condition, pulled from circulation by pure chance. Its luster was flawless, its strike razor-sharp, and most importantly a broken bar. Its error was undeniable. Collectors gasped as photos of the coin spread across forums and coin shows. Dealers rushed to outbid each other, desperate to add it to their collections. When the hammer finally dropped at auction, a broken bar, the room went silent. The price soared past expectations, past hundreds of thousands, past 1 million, and finally an ordinary-looking penny sold for nearly $1.5 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the shocking truth. There could be more of these coins out there, right now, sitting quietly in coin jars, hiding in dresser drawers, jingling at the bottom of your car's cup holder. The thrill of the hunt drives collectors mad with excitement, because every 1993 D penny tells a story, but only a select few contain the details that transform them into treasure. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Some 1993 Denver pennies were struck using worn or misaligned dies, creating doubling effects around the numbers and letters. Look closely at the 1993 date and the word Liberty. If the edges appear doubled or shadowed, you may have found a coin worth a fortune. Others contain rare composition issues. By 1993, pennies were made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating, but a few were mistakenly struck on older, heavier copper plancase left behind from earlier years. These off-metal errors can skyrocket in value, especially when discovered in uncirculated condition. And then, of course, there are the mint mark anomalies. The tiny D below the date tells you this coin came from Denver. But if that mint mark looks faint, misplaced, or doubled a broken bar, you may be staring at a coin that collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. Collectors were shocked when early reports of these coins hit the market. Some dismissed them as rumors. Others quietly searched through rolls of pennies, week after week, hoping to strike gold, or in this case, copper-coated zinc. And every so often, a story surfaces of someone who does. Picture it. A young man sorting through inherited coin jars from his grandfather. Dozens of pennies spill out onto the table. Most are worth nothing more than face value, but one coin gleams differently. He almost overlooks it, almost spends it, but the second glance changes everything. That exact coin becomes his ticket to financial freedom. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on these 1993 D rarities. Auction houses know that each new discovery could set records, and collectors, hungry for the next life-changing story, scoured their change with renewed hope. Colin, many people have these coins and don't even realize it. They sit untouched in coffee cans, forgotten in old wallets, waiting for someone to uncover their true value. And what happened next stunned even seasoned experts. At a major auction, another 1993 D penny appeared, but this time in circulated condition, showing signs of wear. Even then, the bids climbed higher and higher. While it didn't reach the $1 million mark, it still sold for thousands. Proof that condition matters. Yes, a broken bar, but rarity always wins. That's why grading is everything. A flawless coin, preserved as if time stood still, can leap from a few dollars to hundreds of thousands in value. But when combined with a rare mint error, That's when it breaks the $1 million barrier. Collectors were shocked to learn how many of these errors slipped past the U.S. Mint unnoticed, and to this day, experts debate just how many may still exist, waiting for discovery. Imagine holding this coin in your hand, knowing its story, its secrets, and its worth. A penny meant for pocket change, a broken bar transformed into a life-changing treasure. Start by checking the year. If you see 1993 with a small D mint mark, don't dismiss it. Inspect the date and the word liberty under magnification for any doubling. We're talking about tiny shifts and the lettering that create a double door shadowed effect. Next, feel the weight if possible. A true copper error penny will weigh about 3.1 grams instead of the usual 2.5 grams. Finally, study the mint mark itself. A misaligned or double D can be the key to unlocking a $1 million discovery. So before you toss that penny into a coin jar, look again, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.